So I'll be talking about the new weapon that we have in our armamentarium, anti-VEGF injections for ROP. That said, laser still remains the gold standard, as we just heard, and I'll be talking more on the technical aspects of this. But first, especially on this Teachers' Day, my regards to my teachers, Dr. Dogra. I think all of us who are here are because of him, and Dr. Diksha for teaching me and pushing me into this line of pediatric retina and ROP especially. Thank you very much. So anti-VEGF are being increasingly being used these days in the treatment of retinopathy of prematurity, and thanks primarily to these two landmark clinical trials, the BEAT ROP, which discussed bevacizumab use in ROP, and the recent Rainbow trial, which discussed the use of ranibizumab for the treatment of retinopathy of prematurity. So these two trials have kind of paved the way for mainstream use of anti-VEGF in the treatment of this disease. So we as ophthalmologists need to learn the technique for it. So in this, we have to realize that the infants are not merely smaller adults. The eyes are not just smaller, they are anatomically different. Yes, the eyeball is shorter than the adults, and the average age at which we would be injecting is around 35 to 36 weeks post-conceptional age, and the axial length at that time is around 16 millimeters average, and the posterior segment length is just 12 millimeters. So we need to keep that in mind. The crystalline lens is almost the adult thickness. So relative to the whole eye, the lens occupies a very larger place in the eye and in the posterior segment as well. So that has an important bearing on the technique that we are going to follow. The pars plana is poorly developed. It's almost non-existent, and we are going to primarily go through the pars plicata area. So we further go interior and further go closer to the lens, and again the chances of lens touch are going to increase with that. And the last anatomical point, that there could be a lifted retina if we are using it in advanced stages in a preoperative condition, and we need to consider that also so that we may not hit the retina. So where to enter in these eyes? As you can see, there is no standardized guideline for that. Various trials, various studies have used different dimensions, but we have a range of about 0.75 to 1.5 millimeters from the limbus. 1 millimeter is usually a good idea at around 35, 36 weeks post-conceptional age to go in. If you want to be more sure, transillumination methods have been described where we can see the ciliary body band and go in the center of it so that we are very sure of that we are not going through the retina into the eye. I think this is the most important part, how to enter into the eye. We are trained to enter perpendicular to the sclera as we normally would, keeping our needle towards the center of the globe in adults. In children, this is different since we are going in relatively anteriorly, and we are going, the eyes, the lens is bigger in them. So if we are going to go perpendicular to the sclera, there are higher chances that we may directly go into the crystalline lens. So it is important that we know the visual axis and try to keep the bevel of the needle parallel to the visual axis rather than going towards the center of the eye. So which needle to use? There has been some talk on this. The Rainbow trial, which was recently published, used a 12.7 millimeter 30 gauge needle. And the BEAT ROP originally published used 8 millimeter needle which was also 30 gauge. So there are histopathological studies that have shown that a 12.7 millimeter needle can potentially hit the posterior retina on the opposite side if completely inserted. So we need to keep that in mind. If we are using the 12.7 millimeter needle, we should not insert it completely only. And they have been shown that with a 4 millimeter needle, we can safely give these injections. So this is something that we will need to consider for the future. But currently, mostly we are getting 12.7 30 gauge needles along with. So what dose to inject? I think three molecules that we have currently available for the anti-VEGF agents: ranibizumab, bevacizumab, and aflibercept. We have limited experience with aflibercept, but the dose that was used in BEAT ROP was half dose, and Rainbow trial using the ranibizumab used zero point 0.2 as well as zero point 0.1 milligram, but they found zero point 0.2 to be more efficacious. So half dose is more commonly used and more convenient to give given the volumes and the concentration that we have currently available. But studies have shown that the amount of anti-VEGF that goes in may be almost 10,000 times the amount of receptors that are there to be blocked in the eye. So again, we are not at 100% of what dose we should be giving, but on the current consensus, half dose seems to be a good idea. An important point to mention here about the only approved molecule that we have for anti-VEGF injections in ROP, that is ranibizumab. The Drug Controller General of India has given the approval for the molecule and not the dose specifically. And it is the vial of the ranibizumab that is approved, and not the pre-filled syringe that is commonly available. So we get 0.23 ml of dose in that vial, and if we take 0.02 ml, we can match the rainbow trial dose of 0.2 milligrams giving in the eye. So where to inject? I think this would primarily depend on the condition of the baby. If the baby is very sick, we can inject, and we have done it many times in the NICU using a sterile setup. NICUs as it is are equipped to be more sterile than the wards or the other conditions. And we can inject under topical in the NICU with the help of the scrub nurse and with the anesthesia as or the sedation as comfortable by the neonatologist. In the OR, smaller babies, we would prefer to inject in the OR in a sterile environment under topical. A scrubbed assistant usually holds the baby still, and we can drape over the hands of the assistant and then inject. Or we can do it under general anesthesia. This would be for larger babies, bigger babies, more than 40 post-conceptional age, 40 weeks of post-conceptional age, where we may be re-injecting or we may be injecting prior to surgery so that it is a safer procedure because they are difficult to hold. So what do you have to get ready on your trolley before you are ready for injecting? I think we mostly do bilateral injections. So both the syringes should be ready, even if you're using different vials or you are aliquoting from the same vial, both should be ready. 2 sets of Alfonso speculum, they give a good field of view on opening the eyelids. And of course, the calipers to measure your distance accurately. The trocars have a 1 millimeter marking. They can be used reliably for giving the injections if required. A sterile field is the most important. I think that cleaning the eye, both the eyes separately with a betadine and then draping the eyes so that just the area of interest is visible. I like to drape both the eyes together, apply both the speculums together, and then give the injections one by one. And this has been reported in literature by the Baskel Palmer group. And some people would prefer sequential injections on different days, or maybe do one eye and then rescrub and do the other eye. This is just a short video of how I do it. This is no touch technique, inserting the speculum, well cleaned eye with a betadine, and similar way the speculum for the other eye goes in. You do not touch the skin at all. And this is how we would normally go in an adult. You see how I changed the direction. And now we are going in perpendicular, a little more vertical so that we are on the visual axis. Betadine drop at the end and before the injections are very important. A little massage so that there is no extravasation of the drug from the injection site. I've changed my gloves after this. You can, re-scrubbing won't be overdoing it. And then injecting the other eye with the drug in the similar manner. And again, a drop of betadine, a very important step to do, and put a drop of betadine and topical antibiotics thereafter. So after the injection, always examine the next day, look for any drop in media clarity, any signs of lenticular touch, look for the effect of the injection. You usually get it within 24 hours the next day when you look at it. It is preferable to give topical antibiotics in our setting for a week or so. That would be post-injection considerations. I think would be local procedure-related complications, local recurrences, and the systemic long-term side effects. Local complications can be dreadful if they were to happen because we are using this as an alternative to a much safer procedure that is laser. And if we do not follow the correct technique, we can cause cataract. As you can see, this was a patient who presented to us, ROP baby post-injection. You can see the needle tract going in and the whole nucleus being hydrodelineated by the drug that was injected. So entire thing went into the crystalline lens, and you can see the posterior capsular rupture on the anterior segmentosity here. It has been reported from a few other groups also. Post-injection endophthalmitis would be another thing. I think majority of these babies, we are injecting bilaterally. And if you have bilateral endophthalmitis in a small child, it would be dreadful. And this was one baby who presented to us after stage 2, zone 2 injections in the left eye. Thankfully, this was a benign infection, recovered with just the intravitreal antibiotics, and this premacular set of exudates disappeared after some time. I think most common thing that we are going to take care is the recurrences. We talked about them just a while earlier. So this is a posterior zone 1 disease. We can see it looks very good after injecting 4 weeks. The vessels are growing, everything is looking good. But just 2 weeks later, you can see how much of pus has come back, how much the disease has come back. And if you miss this opportunity to pick this up right here, it is going to be disastrous for the baby. And this is one such baby who was not so lucky, injected prior to the COVID-19 situation, 4 weeks follow-up, doing well, called for follow-up after 2 weeks, the lockdown happened. Could not come to us for almost 2 months. And then they presented one eye in stage 4B, another eye in stage 4A. And both eyes ultimately required surgical intervention in this case. So recurrences is one thing that we need to be really careful about. I really like this paper from the Bascom Palmer group, where they have given this protocol, safer protocol for injections, where they prefer to use a shorter needle, S for shorter needle, antiseptic and antibiotic used properly. Follow-up is most important. I think immediate post-operative follow-up, not like the adults where you may call them after 4 to 6 weeks. And then afterwards also, I think between 1 to 2 weeks or maximum 3 weeks, you would want to see them. Extra attention to detail, the cleanliness, the conjunctivitis, whether it is present, and the correct technique. And again, as I said, the follow-up is very important. Even the Western literature, they recommend 1 to 2 weeks of follow-up. Maximum, I would go up to 3 weeks, but not more than that, because the recurrences can be sometimes very abrupt in them. And we are also nowadays following this, where the babies, if by 60 to 65 weeks, do not completely vascularize, and there is any form of activity on fluoresceint angiogram, we would prefer to treat them with laser rather than just keeping them that way. So to conclude, anti-VEGF injections for ROP are here to stay. They are most likely not the final answer to our treatment for ROP, but they are an important addition to an armamentarium. Appropriate consideration to anatomy and technique should be given while administering these injections, and post-injection long-term follow-up is of utmost importance. Thank you.